Good morning and welcome back to an exciting day in Algebra 2. Today we are looking at function operations, and we are just going to focus on the four most basic mathematical operations you have been working with since elementary school. That is addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. But what we're going to look at is what happens when we add, subtract, multiply, and divide polynomials or two functions. So with addition, all you can do is combine like terms. So if I have x squared plus 2x minus 1, and I'm adding 5x plus 3, I'm going to look for like terms that I can combine. I don't have another term that has a power of 2, so I will just keep x squared. But I do have a 2x plus a 5x that will total up to 7x. And then I have a negative 1 and a positive 3 that will total up to 2. And there is my completed new answer. All I did was combine like terms. There's my new function. On the next one, if f of x is x squared minus 6x minus 16 and g of x is x plus 2, how would I find f of x plus g of x? Well, I'm going to do exactly what I did on the first problem. I'm going to take my two functions and I'm going to add them by simply combining like terms. I don't have another x squared term, so that will stay the same. I have a negative 6x and an x to the 1, or 1x, so that will total to negative 5x. Then I have a negative 16 and a positive 2, that will total to negative 14, and there is my new function. Okay. Subtraction, we're also going to combine like terms, but before we do that, we need to distribute the negative because we're subtracting the entire second function. So if I have, for example, 8y squared minus 7y, and I'm subtracting 6 minus 8y plus y to the third, the first thing I need to do is distribute that negative to all three items in my second parentheses. So the first one's going to stay the same, 8y squared minus 7y. Then I will get minus 6 plus 8y minus y cubed. Now that I have distributed my negative, I can go on and combine like terms. Starting with the greatest power first, negative y cubed. I don't have another cubed, so I have nothing to combine. I also don't have anything to combine with the y squared, so that will stay 8y squared. Now I have a negative 7y and an 8y. That will total to just 1y. And I only have a negative 6. I don't have any other constants, so that will stay the same. And here is my final answer. Okay, on the next one, what if I was told f of x is x squared minus 6x minus 40, and g of x is x plus 4? Finding f of x minus g of x, I'm going to take my two functions and subtract them. So f of x comes first, and I'm going to subtract my second function, x plus 4. And the parentheses are very important because that's going to remind me to distribute my negative to both items in my second parentheses. So our first function, x squared minus 6x minus 40, did not change. But when I distribute the negative here, this becomes negative x and negative 4. So combining like terms, I don't have another x squared, so that will stay the same. I have negative 6x and negative 1x. That totals to negative 7x. And then I have a negative 40 and a negative 4. That totals to negative 44. And here is my final simplified answer. Moving on to multiplication, you are going to distribute and then combine like terms. Something to note here is the number of times you're going to be doing multiplication as you distribute is found by multiplying the number of terms in each polynomial. So for example, if you have a trinomial with 3 terms and you're multiplying that by a binomial with 2 terms, you will have to do multiplication 6 times because 3 times 2 equals 6. So we're going to do a couple different examples here so you can see what that looks like. On the first one, I have a monomial, 1 term, and a trinomial, 3 terms. 1 times 3 is 3, so that means I'm going to be doing multiplication 3 times. And that's going to be done just by distributing that 5a to all 3 items inside my parentheses. So first, 5a times 2a squared will give me 10a cubed. Then 5a times 3a will give me 15a squared. And then 5a times negative 2 will give me negative 10a. I have no like terms to combine, so here is my final result. Okay, on the next one, I'm squaring a binomial, which means I'm multiplying it by itself. 2x plus 9 times 2x plus 9. That's a binomial times a binomial. 2 times 2, that means I'm going to be doing multiplication 4 times. And the way we usually refer to this when we're multiplying binomials is FOILing. So 2x and 2x gives me 4x squared. 2x and 9 gives me 18x. 9 and 2x also gives me 18x. And then 9 times 9 gives me 81. The only like terms here I can combine are the 18x and the 18x. So our final result will be 4x squared plus 36x plus 8. Okay, last one. If f of x is x squared minus 3x plus 30 and g of x is x minus 3, I want to find f of x times g of x. That means I'm going to take my two functions and multiply them. Now, I have a trinomial, 3 terms, and a binomial, 2 terms, so I'm going to have to do multiplication 6 times. I'm going to distribute every item in my first parentheses onto both items in my second parentheses. So, once you've done multiplication 6 times, you know you're ready to combine like terms. So, starting with x squared times x, that will give me x cubed. Then x squared times negative 3 is negative 3x squared. Negative 13x times x will give me negative 13x squared. Negative 13x times negative 3 will give me positive 39x. Then 30 times x will give me 30x. And 30 times negative 3 will give me negative 90. I have 6 terms now. I did multiplication 6 times. I'm ready to combine like terms. I don't have anything else with x to the third power, so that will stay the same. I have negative 3x squared and negative 13x squared for a total of negative 16x squared. Then I have a 39x and a 30x for a total of 69x. And then I don't have any other constants, so that negative 90 will stay the same. And here is my final result. Okay, we have done our first 3 operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication. Now we are going to move on to division. When you are dividing polynomials, you're going to be using long division. So to refresh your memory on how you do long division, let's do one with just 2 numbers first. 1,029 divided by 7. So recall, you're going to set up your house. The first number is what goes inside your house, and the second number goes outside your house. So what I'm going to look at is how many times does 7 go into 1? Well, it can't. It's too small. So now I'm going to add one more digit and see how many times does 7 go into 10. It goes into 10 one time. So I'm going to multiply 1 by 7, which gives me 7. I'm going to subtract 7 from 10, and that will give me 3 left over. Then I'm going to bring down the 2 and say, okay, how many times now does 7 go into 32? Well, that is 4 times. 4 times 7 is 28. 32 minus 28 is 4. Now I can bring down the 9. 7 goes into 49 7 times. 7 times 7 is 49. So I'm left with 0. I don't have anything else to bring down, so my final answer is 147, and I have a remainder of 0. Now, when you are dividing polynomials, you are still going to use long division, and it's only a little bit trickier. We're going to look at what would I need to multiply my outside by to get the inside. So I'm going to set up my house. The first term is what's going to go inside, 8x cubed plus 14x plus 8, and I'm dividing that by 2x plus 1. So I'm going to focus on what's in the front of my divisor, that polynomial on the outside, and it's 2x. What would I need to multiply 2x to get 8x to the third? Well, for 2 to become 8, I would need to multiply by 4. And for x to become x to the third, I would need to multiply by x squared. So that's how many times 2x is going to go into 8x to the third. Now I'm going to multiply 4x squared by my divisor, and I have to multiply by the 2x and the 1. So 4x squared times 2x gives me 8x cubed, and that should match because we're wanting that first term to cancel. Now 4x squared times 1 is just going to be 4x squared. And now I'm going to subtract this whole thing, which, like we did when we were subtracting polynomials, we're going to have to make sure we distribute that negative. So 8x cubed minus 8x cubed goes to 0. And I don't have a term for an x squared here, so I'm going to pretend I have 0x squared. And 0x squared minus 4x squared leaves me with negative 4x squared. Now I'm going to bring down the 14x, and I'm ready to do all of that again. So 2x into negative 4x squared, I would need to multiply 2 by negative 2 for that to be negative 4, and I would need to multiply x by x to get x squared. Now I'm going to multiply negative 2x by 2x, and the 1. I need to subtract, and again, that means I'm going to distribute the negative, so these both become positive. Negative 4x squared and 4x squared cancels, and I am left with 14x plus 2x, which is 16x. And I'm ready to bring down the 8. How many times does 2x go into 16x? Well, I would need to multiply that by 8 in order for that to become 16x. So 8 times 2x gives me 16x, and 8 times 1 is 8. I'm going to subtract that, and again, distributing the negative. Both of those are going to cancel, and I have a remainder of 0. So that means I am done, and my final answer is 4x squared minus 2x plus 8. Now, similar to when we were factoring, you can check if you have done division correctly by multiplying your result by your divisor. So I could multiply 4x squared minus 2x plus 8 by 2x plus 1. I would have to do multiplication 6 times, and I would get what I started with to check that my answer is correct. And I did not have a remainder. So we're ready to move on to the next one. Again, we're going to make our house 3x cubed minus 8x squared minus 13x plus 9 is going inside. And then 3x plus 4 is going on the outside. To get 3x cubed out of 3x, I would need to multiply by x squared. So x squared times 3x gives me 3x cubed. X squared times 4 gives me 4x squared. I'm going to subtract that whole thing, which means I'm distributing the negative. So those cancel, and then negative 8x squared minus 4x squared is going to be negative 12x squared. Then I can bring down my next term, negative 13x. What would I need to multiply 3x by to get negative 12x squared? Well, that would be negative 4x. Negative 4x times 3x is negative 12x squared. Negative 4x times negative 4 is negative 16x. I'm going to subtract that whole thing, which means I distribute the negative, and these both become positive. So that cancels, and then I have negative 13x plus 16x, which is negative 3x. Then I can bring down the 9. What do I need to multiply 3x by to get negative 3x? Well, that would be negative 1. Negative 1 times 3x is negative 3x. Negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. When I subtract that, I have to distribute the negative, so that becomes positive, that becomes positive. So the x's cancel, and I am left with 9 plus 4, which is 13. So I no longer have an x in here, so I cannot divide any further. This is going to be my remainder. So what was on top of the house is my result, x squared minus 4x minus 1, and my remainder is 13 divided by our divisor, 3x plus 4. There is our final answer. Okay, one more to go. Again, I'm going to set up my box, my house. All right, there it is. And this one looks a little more difficult. I've got an x to the 4th here and x squared here, but I promise all you still need to focus on is the first terms. So what would I need to multiply 3x squared by to get x to the 4th? Well, that is x squared. Now x squared times 3x squared will give me 3x to the 4th. X squared times 2x will give me 2x to the 3rd. And then negative 3 times x squared is negative 3x squared. So I'm going to subtract that whole trinomial. That means I'm going to be distributing my minus sign. So those cancel. 29x to the 3rd minus 2x to the 3rd gives me 27x to the 3rd. And then 18x squared plus 3x squared is 21x squared. I can bring down the minus 25x. What would I multiply 3x squared by to get 27x to the 3rd? Well, that is 9x. 9x, and now 9x times 3x squared gives me 27x to the 3rd. 9x times 2x gives me 18x squared, and 9x times negative 3 gives me negative 27x. Again, subtracting, distributing that negative. These cancel. 21x squared minus 18x gives me 3x squared. Negative 25x plus 27x gives me 2x. And then I can bring down the negative 3. What would I need to multiply 3x squared by to get 3x? Well, that's just 1. And so I am going to get, after I subtract, that everything cancels, and my remainder here is, again, 0. So our final answer, x squared plus 9x